I was standing in line at the small coffee shop near the hospital, still in my nurse's scrubs. When it happened, a thin, pale boy with messy hair tugged my sleeve and whispered, "Don't drink that coffee." My name is Rachel, I'm 44, and I've worked night shifts for almost 2 decades. I've seen heartbreak, miracles, and lies dressed up as truth, but nothing prepared me for the fear in that boy's eyes. I froze with the cup halfway to my lips, my heart thudding as he darted back toward the door like a shadow. The barista looked up, smiling too wide, her eyes flickering nervously. "Everything okay?" she asked, her voice just a little too sharp. My hands trembled. The boy's words kept echoing in my head. "Don't drink that coffee." Why? Was he crazy, or had he seen something I hadn't? Against all logic, I set the cup down on the counter and forced a laugh. Actually, I think I changed my mind. The smile on the barista's face cracked for just a second before she snatched the cup away, slipping it under the counter. Walking outside, I spotted the boy sitting on the curb, hugging his knees against the winter cold. His lips were cracked, his shoes torn. He couldn't have been older than 12. "Why did you say that?" I asked, crouching down to his level. His gaze flicked up to mine, wide and haunted. "Because I saw her put something in it," he whispered. My stomach dropped. Before I could ask more, a black SUV pulled up across the street. The boy's entire body went stiff. He scrambled to his feet, panic flooding his face. "They're watching me," he hissed. And then, before I could grab his arm, he bolted down the alley, disappearing into the maze of brick walls and shadows. I stood there, heart pounding, torn between chasing him and running back inside to confront the barista. But then my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. "Stay out of this, Rachel. Drink the coffee next time." I looked up, the SUV still idling across the street, tinted windows hiding whoever sat inside. My blood went cold. This wasn't random. Somehow, I had been pulled into something much bigger than a boy's warning. And that was the moment I realized, whatever game this was, it had already started. Before I continue, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you love suspenseful stories, because what happened after that warning changed my life forever. I couldn't get the boy's face out of my mind as I drove home that night. His eyes weren't just scared, they were pleading, like he carried a secret too heavy for someone his age. The message on my phone kept flashing in my head. "Drink the coffee next time." Who even had my number? My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as headlights from the black SUV appeared in my rearview mirror. My chest tightened. It wasn't just coincidence they were following me. I pulled into a gas station, heart racing, and parked near the pumps. The SUV slowed, idled for a moment across the street, then rolled away. Relief flooded me, but it didn't last. When I stepped out to pump gas, a folded piece of paper was tucked under my wiper blade. My stomach sank as I opened it. "The boy is lying. He's not who you think. Stay away." By the time I got home, I was shaking. My daughter, Lily, 15, was waiting up on the couch, scrolling her phone. She looked up and frowned. "Mom, are you okay? You look pale." I forced a smile, kissed her forehead, and told her I was just tired from work. But inside, I was anything but calm. Someone wanted me scared, confused, and doubting that boy, which meant whatever he knew was real. The next morning, I returned to the coffee shop. The same barista was there, her smile too polished. When she handed the next customer their cup, I watched closely. Her hand trembled as she slipped something small from under the counter into the drink before passing it over. My pulse spiked. It wasn't my imagination. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw him again, the boy peeking through the window, motioning frantically for me to come outside. I stepped out, my heart hammering. "Tell me the truth," I said, gripping his shoulders gently. "What's in the coffee?" His lips trembled. "It's not just coffee. It's medicine, but not the kind that helps. It makes people forget, makes them quiet." My stomach turned. "How do you know this?" I whispered. His eyes welled with tears. "Because they gave it to my mom. And now, she doesn't even remember I exist." The ground felt like it shifted beneath me. Before I could react, a sharp voice cut through the air behind us. "Step away from him, Rachel." I turned slowly. It was the barista, her smile gone, her eyes cold. She wasn't alone. 2 men from the SUV stood behind her, their presence heavy, threatening. The boy's hand clutched mine, trembling. "What do you want from me?" I demanded, my voice shaking. The barista's lips curled into a thin smile. "It's not about what we want, Rachel. It's about what you're going to do next. And trust me, you don't want to make the wrong choice." The boy's grip on my hand tightened as the barista stepped closer. Her perfume, sharp and artificial, mixing with the bitter smell of roasted beans drifting from the shop. One of the men from the SUV leaned in, his voice low but threatening. "You were warned once. Don't make us warn you again." His eyes flicked to the boy. "And he doesn't belong to you?" I pulled the boy behind me, my heart pounding so loud it felt like it shook my ribs. "Then whose child is he?" I asked, my voice shaking but steady enough to sting. For a moment, silence hung in the air, and that told me more than their words ever could. They didn't answer because they couldn't. The boy tugged at my sleeve, whispering so only I could hear, "Don't go home. They know where you live." Ice shot through my veins. "Lily, my daughter." I turned on my heel, dragging him with me, and pushed through the crowd until we spilled onto the street. My car was parked half a block away. I didn't even look back, afraid of what I might see, afraid that hesitation would get us caught. We slid into the car, and my hands shook as I jammed the keys into the ignition. As I pulled out of the lot, the boy was breathing hard, tears streaking his dirt-smudged face. "They'll come after us," he said, his voice breaking. I glanced at him. "Then tell me everything. No more half-truths. Who are they? Why are they putting things in the coffee?" His words came out in a rush, like he'd been holding them in for months. "It's not just coffee shops. It's hospitals, shelters, places where people trust what they're given. They test it on the weak people no one will notice. My mom used to work for them, until she found out what was happening. When she tried to leave, they gave her the drink. Now she doesn't even know my name." My throat tightened. A dozen faces of patients I'd cared for flashed in my mind, confused, forgetful, slipping faster than they should have. Was this why? Then my phone buzzed again, lighting up the dashboard. A new message: "We warned you. Now we'll collect." The boy gasped, pointing through the windshield. Headlights appeared in the rearview mirror, the SUV, closer this time, gaining speed. My pulse raced as I gripped the wheel. "We can't go to the police," he whispered. "They're part of it too." I swerved onto a side street, the SUV's tires screeching behind us. My hands were slippery with sweat as I pressed harder on the gas. "Then where do we go?" I demanded. The boy met my eyes, and for the first time, there was something fierce in his gaze. "To the only place they don't control. My mom left me the address before she forgot. It's where she hid the proof." The SUV rammed the back of my car, jolting us forward. I tightened my grip on the wheel, my heart pounding with terror and adrenaline. "Where is it?" I shouted over the roar of the engine. His lips trembled, but his voice was steady. "An abandoned church, on the edge of town." The tires screeched as I took the turn out of town, headlights slicing through the dark country road. The SUV followed close, its beams flooding the mirrors. But after a few sharp detours and a desperate sprint through side streets, the lights finally faded. My hands shook on the wheel, but the boy beside me sat rigid, staring straight ahead as if he'd been running from those headlights his entire life. Half an hour later, we pulled up to the old church. It stood crooked against the night sky, windows shattered, the steeple leaning like it was bowing under some heavy secret. The air smelled of damp wood and ash, like the place had been forgotten for decades. The boy whispered, "This is it." I pushed open the heavy door, its hinges crying out, and we stepped inside. The pews were broken, the altar half collapsed, but the silence felt almost alive. The boy led me to the back wall, pulling away a loose panel of wood. Behind it was a small metal box, rusted and dented. He pulled it out, his small hands trembling. "Mom told me if anything ever happened to her memory, I should bring this here," he said, shoving it into my arms. My fingers fumbled with the latch until it snapped open. Inside were stacks of documents, photographs, and a small flash drive. I flipped through the pages, lab reports, receipts, lists of names. My breath caught. These weren't just notes. They were records of experiments, doses, dates, locations, and then I saw something that made my stomach drop. The hospital's logo, the very place I'd worked for 20 years. "They've been doing this for years," the boy whispered, "using people like my mom, like your patients, making them forget, erasing anyone who could speak the truth." Before I could respond, a loud creak echoed through the church. My head snapped up. The front door had swung open, and a beam of light cut across the floor. Voices followed, low, steady, to calm for strangers stumbling into ruins. The boy's fingers dug into my arm. "They found us." I shoved the papers back into the box and clutched it too. My chest. My heart hammered as footsteps echoed closer, heavy and unhurried. Whoever they weren't here to scare us anymore. They were here to finish it. "Rachel," a voice called out, smooth and chillingly familiar. "We warned you. Now, you've left us no choice." The boy's hand squeezed mine so tight it hurt, his eyes wide with terror. I turned toward the dark corner of the church, searching desperately for a way out, and then the door creaked again. Just as a second set of footsteps entered, a voice I hadn't heard in years whispered from the shadows, "Run. I'll hold them off." I froze. It was a voice I knew too well. My husband's voice. The sound of that voice ripped through me like lightning. My husband, Mark, dead for 5 years, or so I had believed, was standing in the shadows of the ruined church. His face was older, harsher, but there was no mistaking him. The boy's grip on my arm tightened as he whispered, "That's him. He's one of them." My chest burned. "Mark," my voice cracked, tears rising unbidden. How is this possible?" He stepped forward, his eyes darting to the men blocking the doorway. "There's no time to explain everything. Just know this, I never died. I disappeared because I found out too much. And now you have the proof that can burn it all down." His gaze fell on the box in my hands, then flicked to the boy. "But they'll kill to keep it buried." The barista's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Touching, reunion, but you know the rules, Mark. She drinks, or she disappears." The boy cried out, "Don't listen. He's lying. He's part of them." His words stabbed through me. I turned to Mark, searching his eyes for the truth. He looked pained, torn apart inside. "I was part of it once," he admitted, his voice breaking. "But I tried to stop it, Rachel. That's why they came for me. Why they made you think I was gone. That boy. His mother and I worked together. She was braver than I ever was. They silenced her, and now he's carrying what she couldn't." The footsteps of the men grew closer. My choices were shrinking. Mark reached for me, desperation in his voice. "Give me the box. I can end this. I can make sure you and Lily are safe." But the boy's eyes were blazing now, fierce and raw. "Don't trust him. My mom said if you give it back to them, it's over. Everyone forgets. Even you. Even your daughter." My pulse thundered in my ears. I stood frozen between the man I once loved and the trembling boy who had risked everything to save me, both begging me to believe. I clutched the box tighter, my decision hardening in my chest. My voice came out steady, stronger than I felt. "If I hand this over to either of you, no one wins. So I'll do what you never could, Mark. I'll tell the world myself." Before they could react, I yanked the flash drive from the box, shoved it into my pocket, and sprinted toward the side door. The boy ran with me, his small hand in mine. Shouts erupted behind us, footsteps pounding. But adrenaline carried us out into the icy night. We stumbled into the snow, lungs burning, and I could still hear them screaming inside the church. But as the cold air filled my chest, I realized something. I had the proof, the truth. And no matter who was lying, no matter who was still hiding in the shadows, they couldn't erase me anymore. This wasn't just about a boy or a cup of coffee. This was about all of us. And as the first sirens wailed in the distance, whether they were friend or foe, I didn't know. I held the boy close and whispered, "They'll never make us forget." And then the church door creaked open behind us, and we both froze. And that was the night a single warning saved my life. But it also exposed a truth more terrifying than I ever imagined. If this story shook you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and tell me in the comments, would you have trusted the boy or my husband?